are going to discuss about one of the very important as well as one of the very interesting chapter in biology, that is molecular basis of inheritance. We discuss this particular chapter under the heading of genetics. I know many of the times, unfortunately, biology students fear to study this particular chapter because of the entry of the term molecule. I know the term molecule is something related to the chemistry, but unfortunately students find its appearance there in the biology. Normally until they study the biology, as they study the biology up to their high school level, they do not discuss much about the molecular aspects there in biology. But let me tell you, though it takes biology into the chemistry level, actually it is very interesting because it is going to extend biology and the biological knowledge or the knowledge about the life into the very basic level. It is taking life into its root explanation. Okay. Now, before we enter into the chapter molecular basis of inheritance, first we should understand what is all about inheritance. Now, we are inherited with many things. Now, a father may inherit his property to his children, and when the term used inheritance there in biology, it is nothing but transmission of characters from parents to the offsprings. Now, what exactly or how exactly characters can transmitted from parents to the offsprings? Illi inheritance anta heluvaga, it is the process of transmission of characters from parents to the offspring. Avara parents inda makkalige next generation ige characters ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಮಿಟ್ ಆಗುವಂತಹ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಇನ್ಹೆರಿಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕರಿತೇವೆ. ಈಗ ಹೌ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ದೀಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ಹೆರಿಟೆಡ್ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ವಾಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಆನ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಅಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. Now, when we consider an organism, so for example, you can consider a bacteria. Bacteria is a prokaryotic unicellular organism, or you consider a protozoan like amoeba, or you consider a mammal like the most evolved mammal, human being. Now, all these are representing an individual organism. Now you see here, the single cell itself is an organism, and here also the single, here the prokaryotic cell, here the single eukaryotic cell is representing an organism. But when it comes to the multicellular organism, several cells together or a group of cells together making an organism. So here understanding the life is comparatively easy because single cell is making single organism. But here you see this multicellular organism is made up of assemblage of organ systems, and you see these organs. So for example, digestive system, nervous system, respiratory system, and you see these systems are made up of assemblage of different organs, and you see these organs are in turn nothing but aggregation of tissues, and now you see these tissues are nothing but assemblage of several cells. And once again we are reaching back into the cell. That is why very basically life is represented at the level of a cell, and you see evolution converted unicellular organisms, or evolution made unicellular organisms basically from prokaryotic level to eukaryotic level, and finally they went on increasing the complexity from the cellular organization to the tissue grade, then to the organ grade, organ system, and finally it formed a complex system of several organs together as an organism. But when we consider the birth of any organism, basically any organism is starting its birth from the level of a cell. Now, when we consider a cell, the very interesting thing is, this cell is made up of what? This cell is made up of different types of molecules. The cell is built out of different types of molecules. ಅಂದರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿಯ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್, ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ಒಂದು ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ನಾವು ಇಟ್ಟಿಗೆಗಳನ್ನು ಜೋಡಿಸಿ ಕಟ್ಟುತ್ತೇವೋ, ಇನ್ ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ ವೇ ತುಂಬ ಬಯೋಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸೇರಿಸಿ ಒಂದು ಸೆಲ್ ಕಟ್ಟಲ್ಪಟ್ಟಿದೆ. Several molecules together constitute the structure of cells. Okay, now that's why we are finding basically life there in a cell, and very basically the life is represented by a cell. Now, when it comes to the inheritance, it is nothing but a transmission of characters from parents to the offsprings. Now, what exactly parents transmit from themselves to their offsprings? Now, just consider the reproduction of bacteria. Now, bacteria can reproduce through the cell division. Even most of the protozoans also reproduce through the cell division. And during the cell division, we know that one cell may be get divided into two cells, and you see these two cells share the components from their parental cell. And same thing for a protozoan, and you have already studied about the cell division. But how about the reproduction is facilitated in multicellular organisms? Now we know that most of the multicellular organisms reproduce sexually. So when it comes to the sexual reproduction, there is the involvement of two individuals, that is the involvement of a female and the male member, father and mother. Now you see, you might have heard people saying, hey, nee nodake tet nin appan tarane idiya. You see, they just compare. Moogu appandu magandu onde tara irbodu. Appa has curly hair, and you can find the same curly hair even there in the son, or Amma might be having very fair complexion, and you might find the similar kind of complexion there with the daughter or there with the son, and father may be very short and you may find even the son very short, father may be round faced, and even you find the son is also having a round face. Now you see, here you find similarity or resemblance in the characters between the father and the son. And in the normal terms we explain it as it's just because of inheritance from their parents. But very interesting thing is whether the father is transmitting exactly the same nose into the son. No, not exactly, because we know that every organism is born basically in the form of a diploid cell called zygote. Then what exactly contributed by father and mother? Mother has just contributed an egg and father has contributed a sperm. They have simply contributed one cell each, and both these cells had n number of chromosomes in their structure. Now you see, as these two cells fuse together, it will form once again a diploid cell, and we call this cell as zygote. Now the very interesting thing, this single cell zygote, actually we are all born in the form of a single cell there in the womb of our mom. Now as we born there in the form of a single cell, now this cell is called zygotic cell. But a very interesting thing is, this single zygotic cells had all sort of informations to make this cell to undergo repeated division followed by differentiation to make a complete organism or an adult individual. ನನ್ನ ಅಪ್ಪ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪರ್ಮ್ ಮಾತ್ರ, ನನ್ನ ಅಮ್ಮ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಎಗ್ ಸೆಲ್ ಮಾತ್ರ, ಎರಡೂ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿತ್ತು. ಈ ಎರಡು ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆದಾಗ ಝೈಗೋಟನ್ನು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡಿತ್ತು. ಅದು ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ಮೈಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್ ಸೆಲ್ ಮಾತ್ರ. ಸೊ ಈ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್ ಸೆಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಸೆಲ್ಲು ರಿಪೀಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಎ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ, ಆ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮಾರ್ಪಾಟು ಹೊಂದಿ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಟಿಶ್ಯೂಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆ ಟಿಶ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಒಂದು ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ರೀಅರೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಿ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಗನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆ ಆರ್ಗನ್ಸ್ ಒಂದು ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಸೆಂಬಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ, ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಈಗ ನನ್ನ ಥರ ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡುವ ಹಂತಕ್ಕೆ ತರುವಷ್ಟು ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಅಂದರೆ ಆಲ್ ಸಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ಡ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಸೆಲ್. ದೆನ್ ಹೌ ಕಮ್ ದ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ reached this particular cell? Now you see, it received informations both from paternal side, tande kadeinda, maternal side, tayi kadeinda. Received informations from the parent. Now this information later got expressed. The expression of this information resulted in the form of forming an organism resembling to the parent. Now, have you ever seen an elephant giving birth to donkey? Have you ever seen human beings giving birth to monkey? Have you ever seen a monkey giving birth to human being? Never, never. Why? Because you see, human beings can transmit information only to their offsprings, and the information transferred is from their parents, and you see they can transfer the information which is present in their body cells only. So, for example, if you take any of cells from my body, the information stored is same, and when I donate a part of those cells from my body to my children, I can send only the informations present in my own body. And you see, my body never has the information to produce a monkey, or elephant never has the information to produce a donkey. That's why you see, always the organisms belongs to a particular species produce offsprings just resembling them. You see, those aspects you studied while defining the species, and even in the chapter ecology you will also study about the organisms and the population. So, when you refer into a particular species or when you refer into a particular population, they are nothing but a group of organisms resembling each other. And same time, you see, since the members belong to a particular population or the species resemble each other, they can interbreed among themselves and they can produce their fertile young ones. Okay, irli. ಈಗ ನಮಗೆ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಅಪ್ಪ ಮತ್ತು ಅಮ್ಮನಿಂದ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಒಂದೊಂದು ಜೀವಕೋಶಗಳು ಮಾತ್ರ. ಈ ಜೀವಕೋಶಗಳಿಗೆ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಲೈಫನ್ನು ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತಹ ಎಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇದೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಈ ಜೀವಕೋಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಷ್ಟು ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಆಗ ನಾವೀಗ ಜೀವಕೋಶಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಾಗ, ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ you have studied about biomolecules. So, in the chapter biomolecules, we came to know that if we consider any of the cell, so cell basically has some 70 to 90% of water. ಇಷ್ಟು ಭಾಗ ಬರೀ ನೀರು, and some 15 to 18% of it is nothing but protein. Then some 5 to 7% of it is nucleic acid. Then some 3 to 5% of it is carbohydrate. And some 2 to 3% is lipid, and finally around 1% of it is different types of minerals. Now, this is the chemical composition of a cell. ಅಪ್ಪ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಸೆಲ್, ಅಮ್ಮನೂ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಸೆಲ್. ಈ ಎರಡು ಸೆಲ್ ಮದುವೆಯಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು single cell. So, hereafter they are not two different cells united and together forming single cell, and this cell basically nothing but the combination of these different biomolecules. Now, see, every biologist and even the people, after knowing this chemistry of biology, they wanted to know, out of these different types of molecules which make the life, which molecule exactly making the leadership role there in the life. Which molecule exactly is the basis of the information or basis of the inheritance or basis of the information transmission. Now you see, though inheritance is defined as the process of transmission of characters from parent to the offspring, actually it is the transmission of informations from parent to the offspring. ಇದು ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮೂವಿ ಇದೆ, ಸೊ ಬಾಹುಬಲಿ 2 ಮೂವಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಯುವರ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್. ಈಗ ಒಬ್ಬ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ, ನನಗೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಮಾಡು ಅಂತಾನೆ. ನಾವು ಯು ಸಿ, ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್. ಯಾವುದೊಂದು ಫೈಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಿ information. When it is expressed, it will be exhibited in the form of a movie. But the stored information can be expressed. ಈಗ that stored information ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡು ಅಂತೇಳಿ. So you should transfer this information from your mobile phone to your friend's mobile phone. ಸರಿ, ಬ್ಲೂಟೂತ್ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಪೆನ್ ಡ್ರೈವ್ ಕೊಡು ಅಂತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಪೆನ್ ಡ್ರೈವ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಅದನ್ನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಫೋನಿಗೆ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕಾಪಿ ಪೇಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ. ನಾವು ಯು ಸಿ, ಇಟ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಪೇಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪೆನ್ ಡ್ರೈವ್. ನಾವು ಯು ಟೇಕ್ ಇಟ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ಪೆನ್ ಡ್ರೈವ್ and now you see, you insert this pen drive into another mobile phone or your friend's mobile phone, and you see it is there in the pen drive. Now you copy it from the pen drive and you paste it in the mobile phone. ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಇದು ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಫೋನಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿಸ್ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಫೋನ್ ಟು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಫೋನ್, ಬಟ್ ಯು ಸಿ ಥ್ರೂ ಎ ಪೆನ್ ಡ್ರೈವ್. ಈಗ now if you get into the language of computers, you know that these informations are stored in the form of binary coding. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮ್ಯಾಥಮೆಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ, ಇನ್ ವಾಟ್ ವೇ ದ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ಸ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಟು ದ ಇನ್ಹೆರಿಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ಸ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆನ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ಈಸ್ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ನಾನು ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಾಗ ಐ ಶುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಹೈಟ್. ನಾನು ಇರುವೆ ಸೈಜ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದರೆ ಅದು ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನಾನು ಈ ಹೈಟಿಗೆ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಒಂದು ಎವರೇಜ್ ಹೈಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಸೊ ಈ ಹೈಟ್ನಲ್ಲೇ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯು ಸಿ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮೈ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ನಾನು ಗೊರಿಲ್ಲಾ ಚಿಂಪಾಂಜಿ ಥರ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನನ್ನ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಹೀಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕು, ನನ್ನ ಮೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡೀ ಗೊರಿಲ್ಲಾ ಥರ ರೋಮ ಬರಬಾರದು. ಆದರೆ ಒಂದು ಸರಿಯಾದ ಏಜಿಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಮುಖದ ಮೇಲೆ ಗಡ್ಡ ಮೀಸೆ ಬರಬೇಕು. ಇದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನನ್ನು ಸೆಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ನನ್ನ ಅಪ್ಪನಿಗೆ 25 ವರ್ಷ ಆದಾಗ ಗಡ್ಡ ಮೀಸೆ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು, ನನಗೂ ಕೂಡ 25 ವರ್ಷ ಆದಾಗಲೇ ಗಡ್ಡ ಮೀಸೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಏನರ್ಥ? ಮೈ ಡ್ಯಾಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ ದೋಸ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದಿಸ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್. ನನ್ನ ಅಪ್ಪಂದು ಕೈ ಕೂಡ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಉದ್ದ ಇತ್ತು, ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಡಿಮೆ. ನನ್ನ ಅಪ್ಪಂದು ನಂದು ಮೂಗು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಸೇಮ್ ಶೇಪ್ನಲ್ಲಿದೆ, ಸೈಜ್ನಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಹಂಗಂತೇಳಿ ಅಪ್ಪಂದೇ ಮೂಗು ತಂದು ನನಗೆ ಅಂಟಿಸಿರುವಂಥದ್ದಲ್ಲ. ನಾ ಯು ಸಿ, my dad has sent those informations through these cells, and now we know that these cells are nothing but combinations of these different types of molecules. Now you see, water is common or commonly observed both in living system as well as in the non-living systems. And minerals are also observed both in living systems as well as non-living systems. But when it comes to these 4 different types of biomolecules, namely proteins, nucleic acids, carbohydrates and lipids, they are specifically confined to the living beings. That's why you see, these are the 4 different types of biomolecules all together make the life in association with the water and other type of minerals and other chemicals. That is why scientists started giving importance to these 4 different types of biomolecules, and they wanted to know which biomolecule exactly which molecule exactly store the informations related to the transition of characters from parent to the offspring. So, scientists were in search of this particular molecule. That is why hope you got the relevance of studying this particular chapter there in biology. Now, this chapter is going to extend into various other chapters what you study there in the biology. Now, you see the previous chapter, principles of inheritance and variation, where once again inheritance is discussed. Hope you got many of the ideas related to this chapter there itself. And you see the next chapter, evolution, how organisms gradually adopted to the changes, and how through the changes they evolved into the present day diversified form. Roots you find in this particular chapter. And you see the next chapter, the applied biology part, the biotechnology and the genetic engineering is developed mainly on the basis of the knowledge of this chapter. And most of the things what you discussed there in the chapter ecology has the roots in this particular chapter called molecular basis of inheritance. That is why do not worry, this is going to be a very interesting chapter in biology, and if you study this chapter properly, you can understand rest of the aspects in biology very clearly and systematically. Okay, now almost I think you got the relevance of studying this chapter in biology. Okay. Now, as we got the idea of what is inheritance, as I mentioned, is nothing but transmission of characters from parents to their offsprings or through the generations. 10 generation ಬಂದರೂ human being ಗೆ ಜನ್ಮ ಕೊಡ್ತಾನೆ ಹೊರತು ಮಂಕಿಗೋ, ಡಾಂಕಿಗೋ, ಎಲಿಫೆಂಟಿಗೋ ಜನ್ಮ ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. So throughout the generations it should make the transmission of the informations related to its own characters. Now, after knowing what is inheritance and what exactly life is, now the direction of research turned in identifying or locating that particular molecule. So, as I mentioned, life is built out of 4 basic molecules like protein, like nucleic acids, like lipids, like carbohydrates. They wanted to know out of these 4 which molecule, out of these 4 which molecule play the role of genetic material. Is nothing but the material which stores all the informations related to the inheritance. ಸೊ ಯಾವ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್, ಈ ನಾಲ್ಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್, ವಿಚ್ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಹೆರಿಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಸೈಂಟಿಸ್ಟ್ಗಳು ಹುಡುಕಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆರಂಭಿಸಿದರು. ಸೊ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ರಿಗಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಆಫ್ ಸರ್ಚ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಜೆನೆಟಿಕ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್. ಇದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ. ಇನ್ನು ಇದಾದ ಮೇಲೆ ದೇ ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಟು ನೋ that particular molecule. After knowing which molecule is the basis of inheritance, they wanted to study this molecule, how number one, store. ನಾನು ಆಗ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಫೋನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮೂವಿ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಇನ್ ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ ವೇ ಒಂದು ಸೆಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ ವಾಟ್ ವೇ ದ ಜೆನೆಟಿಕ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಈಸ್ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ಡ್. ಯು ಸಿ ಹೌ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ದ ಲೈಫ್ ಈಸ್. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ the computers or the mobile phones or any other digital instruments. Now you see how exactly the information is stored in this particular molecule. And number two, I have mentioned earlier, if you have some information stored there in your device, very often your friends will ask for sharing. Earlier we had one of the popular app called Share It. Now it is banned. Now you see they will ask for sharing, and we used to share it through the Share It app. Now you see, now we can also share it through many other devices. Now if once it is stored, before you share we should get it copied. How it can be copied? Now I have mentioned there about the role of mom and dad. Now you see, mom has given an egg cell, dad has given a sperm cell. Now you see, whatever the information stored there in the dad, whatever the information is stored there in the mom, should be copied, and then it should be transferred through the sperm or the egg. So in what way this information gets copied? Copying pattern. Then they wanted to know how exactly this information gets transferred from parent to offspring. Transfer of the information from dad to his child, mom to his child. And if once transferred, now you see, very often we transferred a file from this particular my mobile to my friend's mobile, and after receiving that information, very often we might have found they are complaining, hey, open agta illa kano. Now you see, after receiving it should be get expressed. ಆಗ ಅವ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ನಿಂದು ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಇದೆ ಕಣೋ, ಅಪ್ಡೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋ. ಆರ್ ಯು ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಮೈ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್? ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯು ಸಿ, ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರಿಂಗ್ ದ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ಡ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪ್ರಿಂಗ್, ಇಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ಡ್. ಹೌ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ಡ್? ದೆನ್ expression. Now just imagine, my mom can cry and I can also cry, because same information is transferred from my mom to me. But you see, a dog cannot cry like me, because dog's mom can also, or even dog's mom cannot cry like me, and even its son or daughter can also, or it is also not able to cry, because dog's mom has no such kind of information stored. That's why only transferred information can be expressed. Now just imagine, when it comes to the expression part, Now you say, I have the information to cry, but just imagine this particular information gets expressed throughout. ಅಂದರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ನಾನು ಹುಟ್ಟಿದಂದ್ರಿಂದ ಸಾಯುವವರೆಗೆ ಅಳ್ತಾನೇ ಇರಬೇಕು. But it is not happening and it should not happen. You and I can laugh, I can smile, but just imagine this particular information keeps on expressed throughout my lifetime. ನನ್ನ ಜೀವನ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ನಗುತ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಜನರು ಹುಚ್ಚ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಅಂದರೆ this expression should be brought out only when and where its expression is required. That means the pattern of expression should be regulated. So regulation mechanism is also very important. That's why the scientists were very much interested in revealing these informations. Basically, they wanted to find out which molecule out of these four is the basis of inheritance. Then they wanted to know further, this particular molecule how store the genetic information. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬೈನರಿ ಕೋಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಲೈಫ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಸೆಲ್ಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಇನ್ನು ಈ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಕಾಪಿಯಾಗಿ ಅದರ ಗ್ಯಾಮೆಟ್ಸಿಗೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅದು ಹೇಗೆ ಒಂದು ಝೈಗೋಟಿಗೆ ರೀಚ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಆಗ ದೇ ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಟು ನೋ ಹೌ ದಿಸ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಗೆಟ್ಸ್ ಕಾಪಿಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಹೌ ಇಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ transferred into the offsprings, and after reaching this information in the offspring, how exactly it gets expressed. ಕೆಲವರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಮೇಸ್ಟ್ರಿಗೆ ತುಂಬ ನಾಲೆಜ್ ಇದೆ ಆದರೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಅದ ಕಾರಣ though we receive the information from our parents, if those informations does not get expressed, it's of no use. ಆಗ ಈ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಷನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ, ಬಂದರೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಕೆಲವರಿಗೆ ದೋ ದೇ ರಿಸೀವ್ ಇಟ್ ಡಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ಡ್. ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಷನ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ದ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ and there is a kind of a regulation mechanism. And what is the regulation mechanism of this expression? So these are the aspects which we are going to discuss in this particular chapter called molecular basis of inheritance. ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ನ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ನಮಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಲೈಫ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಬಯೋಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲು ಎಲ್ಲ ಜೀವದ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಷನಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನನ್ನು ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡಿದೆ, ಅದು ಹೇಗೆ ಕಾಪಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಹೇಗೆ ತಂದೆ ಅಥವಾ ತಾಯಿಯಿಂದ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಆದ ನಂತರ ಅದು ಹೇಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನೋಡಿ, ಮೈ ಡ್ಯಾಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಮುಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಶ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬಿಯರ್ಡ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಮೀ, ಬಟ್ ದೋಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಡಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ಡ್ ಎಟ್ ದ ಏಜ್ ಆಫ್ 8. ನನಗೆ 8 ವರ್ಷ ಆಗುವಾಗ ಗಡ್ಡ ಮೀಸೆ ಬಂದಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಅಂತ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನನ್ನು ನಾನು ಹುಟ್ಟುವಾಗಲೇ ತಗೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದ್ದೆ. ಆ ವಿಷಯಗಳು ಹೇಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ನು ನೋಡಿ, ಆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಷನ್ 8 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಂದರೆ ಜನರು ಅಪಹಾಸ್ಯ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಿತ್ತು, ಆದರೆ ಅದು ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ 14, 15, 16 ವರ್ಷ ಆಗುವಾಗಲೇ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಷನನ್ನು ಇಂಥ ಟೈಮ್ನಲ್ಲೇ ಬರಬೇಕು, ಹೀಗೆಯೇ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗಾಗುತ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಂತಹ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಈ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ.